What is going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out today's video. Today we're talking all about the stage 1 upgrade build that we're doing to this Poseidon X gravel bike. This bike is an awesome bike for 750 bucks right out of the box. This thing is awesome except for one thing, and that is the brakes. The brakes are just terrible on this bike. So this is going to be the #1 upgrade that we're going to do on this bike. So please stay tuned if you want to see this upgrade build. We're going to dive into it right now. If you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe, and let's dive into this video. The braking department in this bike was suffering pretty bad with just having normal mechanical brakes. This thing just didn't do too well. So being a sub $1,000 bike, not having hydraulic brakes, you know, they had to compensate somewhere and cut the cost. So mechanical disc brakes is what this has with the normal brake housing. So the way we're gonna transform this bike to make it be able to stop a lot easier is we're gonna convert the brake housing to compressionless brake housing, and essentially it's a completely different concept of brake housing. The normal brake housing actually has strands of wire that go around and line the inside of the brake housing, but what that does is when you squeeze the brake lever, the brake housing actually compresses with the brake cable as well. So it's not a really good system when you want really good strong brakes. So going compressionless, it actually has axial strands that run the length of the cable, and when you squeeze the brake lever, it's nice and crisp. And this Jaguar brake kit that we're going to be installing actually has a slick lining on the inside, so that brake cable can just slide through nice and easy, resulting in nice crisp braking from this Poseidon X. So this is the first build we're going to be doing, the first stage of the upgrade series we're going to be doing. So stay tuned for this. We're going to show you everything you need to know about installing this Jaguar brake kit to make your Poseidon X stop 10 times better. And if you're just looking to install a Jaguar brake cable kit on any other bike, this will probably be a good reference for you as well, because it's pretty straightforward. As long as you get the cuts right and measure your cable and route it internally or however it's routed correctly, this is a pretty easy build. Don't be intimidated by this build. It's actually very simple if you take your time and do it the right way. I'm going to show some steps here throughout the video that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to do this build. If you have the right tools, it's going to make this job a lot easier, such as cable cutters. It's going to make it a lot easier to make really nice cuts. That way you can get the cable ends to fit right on that cable very nice and tight without any mess going on. I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to get some speed, and we're going to try to do a full stop as hard as we possibly can. And I'm even going to get down in the drop so we can put some good pressure on these things. All right, so you saw that was pretty crazy sounding, pretty loud, and it took a long time for these things to stop. The front brake on this thing is almost non-existent. Look at that. Doesn't do anything. Instead of going out and having to buy new levers and everything else to convert this to hydraulic brakes, all we're going to do is install this new brake housing, and that should take all that mush and play out of these brakes. And we're going to also go out and do a comparison and show you how much better the braking is after we install this kit. So what we're going to do first is go through and go ahead and loosen up the brake cables, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the bar tape. That way we can access the brake cables up here, and then we'll go ahead and remove the brake cable itself, and then we should be good to go to start measuring our cables. Let's go ahead and take the crimp off. I'm just gonna reach down there and pull this thing out. Okay, we're gonna start peeling back this bar tape. And I know this is like the most stressful part, because if you bought a brand new bike, you don't really wanna mess up your grips. So we're gonna go ahead and do this nice and easy. And I'm trying not to rip the bar tape itself because it does get stuck to this tape pretty easily up here. I'm just being really easy with it. All right, so the next step here is just to cut the new housing to your length. I strongly suggest you use an actual bike brake housing cutters. That way it can cut a nice smooth cut through here and it's not gonna crimp or mess up your brake housing itself. All right guys, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this and we'll be back to reroute this thing. So that actually routed through very easily. And now we just need to get the right connection. Even though this brake kit did come with some pretty nice little end caps, we're gonna go ahead and put this one made by Risk on here. And it's gonna finish this out a little bit nicer. All right, there we have that one installed. And get it going back down through the channel. All right, so we have it ran through. Okay, we have our new rear cable housing cut. We're gonna go ahead and feed that down the down tube. We're gonna watch for it to come out the bottom. One cool thing about this bike is that it has an exposed hole right here so that the cables can be fed down this down tube and they come out the bottom very easily, so you're not gonna have to fight those cables. So that's a nice little feature there. So we'll go ahead and button up this cable over here and go ahead and get it taped down and the tape reinstalled. All right, we have it installed. We have the brakes adjusted. These things grab so easy. I just barely actuate the lever here. And it's working. It's just so smooth now. Trying to work this out nice and easy. Here we go, here we go, here we go. There we go. We got it. See that? That little hook was able to grab it nice and easy. Now we're just gonna feed that thing through. So we have everything installed here on the rear. I think it looks pretty nice. I like the little Risk emblem there. So it's internally routed. Not much hanging out the bottom. We can kind of tuck that up and use the excess up here. And then, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and start wrapping the bars. And that should round out this whole package. As you can tell, the brakes work really good though. And we'll show you when we actually do a demonstration. But that right there is very light to the touch. And it's very, very similar to hydraulic brakes. We're gonna go ahead and start wrapping the bars with the actual tape. We're gonna use the box cutter. All right. I forgot to mention it on the first one, but you can go ahead and put your hood back down. A little rubber flap there. All right, so there we have it. Looking real nice, and the grip actually looks just as good as it did from the factory. You know, it turned out really, really well. And now it's even more compact up here than it was before. So very, very nice upgrade here. There's still a lot of range to go with this one, so I really like that one. And you can see here, still some range there, but overall these things actuate super, super easy. And guys, stay tuned. We're gonna go take this out and actually do a test ride with it, showing you how these things actually perform. But overall, this was a super easy install. All right, so we're gonna get this bike up to speed. Then we're gonna apply the brakes pretty good. I'm gonna get down in the drops. So it actually locked the rear brake up. Oof, a little bit too strong. So I guess word of advice, maybe not squeeze them as hard, because definitely this thing just locked the brakes up pretty hard. So we're gonna do this again. I'm gonna try to apply the front brake a little bit harder this time. But it actually does stop a lot better. The brakes still tried to lock up some. So I tried to minimize that and just kind of ease it up just a little bit, but guys, they work 10 times better, I'm telling you. It's kind of crazy. Because I believe this upgrade is probably the best thing you can do to this bike, because this is an excellent bike. For 750 bucks, I don't know if there's another bike on the market that compares to this thing with the capabilities that it has to upgrade. So transforming these brakes to something that's actually functional and usable is really big for this bike. It transforms the way it feels, and it kind of transforms just the overall performance of how the brakes respond and things. So we are going to be taking this bike out in future videos on doing some trail stuff. I know this is more of a road / light gravel use bike, because we're going to take this thing out and see what it can actually handle. I was actually out on the trails today with my mountain bike doing some jumps and kind of seeing how some of these new trails that are around me kind of react. So I'm pretty excited to get this one out and actually put it to the test and see what it can actually handle, because I'm not really sure. I've really only had it on light gravel and road, which is kind of where its home is, but we're going to see what this thing can actually handle when we get it out on the trail. And I think doing this brake upgrade is definitely going to help out with the performance, because before we did this, I would be super hesitant to actually get this thing on the trail because it just couldn't stop at all. So now it's a little bit different. I would say some of the biggest things when you're doing this install to pay attention to is going to be internally routing the cables. You really want to pay attention not to kink up the cable or bend it or make it to where those actual strands are going to get bent inside, because what that's going to do is a slick liner that's in there where the cable runs through, it's going to pinch that up and it's going to make it to where the smoothness isn't going to be there anymore. So it's something you really need to pay attention to. Take your time when you route this. Don't force anything, because that's where you're going to kink it up and mess up that brake housing. But just take your time, insert the little end pieces nice and easy, and you're going to be just fine. It's not that hard of a build, and it's something you can do just in probably a couple hours. All right guys, if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to our channel. We'd love to have you. And keep in mind, there's going to be tons of Poseidon X videos coming your way soon. And this is just stage 1 of the upgrade build series we're going to be doing. And we're going to go in order from what I think needs to be replaced first. And in this case, the brakes was what we needed to address first, because they were just awful. The rest of this bike is okay in certain areas. The saddle, as you can tell, this isn't the saddle that came with this bike. We've already switched out, but we're going to be doing an upgrade build video showcasing that as well. So we're going to be going in order from what I believe needs to be replaced first, and then moving on down the line doing these upgrades. So if you have a Poseidon X gravel bike and you want to know what is probably the best upgrades to do on your bike, please stay tuned and subscribe, and you're going to be able to get those videos in the future. All right guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in those future videos.